overview kind of talk about like prep talk for 2026. I'm sure that you all have done your own personal reflections on 2025. And if not, we'll do a question and answer at the end of this so you can feel very comfortable. If you feel comfortable talking about it, we can do it here. It's fine with me. But just kind of getting an idea of getting our heads in place for what 2026 will look like inevitably in some ways. And then after that, we'll do a question and answer. You can ask any questions or any topic you want to discuss and just kind of free float, and then we'll call it a day. So without further ado, let me start by saying that Happy New Year to everyone. 2026 is promising to be a very different kind of year. And I really, usually we all get the pep talk and we set the goals and we do the things. But one of the things that I've been impressed with about this coming year is that it will be a year of extremes. It will be a year where all of the things that you have been learning and teaching yourself and growing through in therapy and other venues will come into play for in real time. So up until this point, most of us have had the opportunity to build resilience and build capacity based on what we've been through in the past. It's almost, I call it a museum kind of resilience, where we look at the past and we say, I went through that. Wow, that was tough. And now I'm stronger. I went through that and I've come out of it stronger and I had greater capacity to hold big things and difficult things. And all of that is true. But what is different is when you have to then tap into that resiliency in real time, because not necessarily crisis, although what I want to talk about is relevant for crisis mode, but also for urgent situations where you have to make decisions, where there's a lot going on, where we are used to sitting and in our feelings, we're used to reflecting, we're used to processing. There will be moments in this coming year where we won't have the luxury to do that, where we will need to be able to lean into a survival mode mentality, and it is setting aside processing and feelings and all of that, because there's a time for that, and lean into a more of a what is happening, what are the facts on the ground, what are some of the things that need to be done, and I can assess, I can document how I feel and assess it later. And so this is going to be a year of extremes. It's going to be a year of very high highs, very low lows. And if you get stuck in either one of them, it's going to make it difficult for you to be able to actually practice or bring into reality the fullness of that resilience and that capacity that you have so practiced and mastered to this point. And so I want you to be thinking about how I can hold big things, hold a lot of information, and be able to keep my sanity. Like there's compartmentalizing of that information, and then recognizing what I know, what I need to know, what needs to happen, and then how I feel about it, all of it emotionally. I can just jot that down, come back and discuss it later, or process it later. And from that, let me see if I can share my screen really quickly with you. I've been in the process of writing a couple of books, and there's a series called the Compass series. And this particular one is the Clarity Compass. It's transforming panic into powerful planning. Because one of the things that people tend to do is when seasons shift, when things get different, like we were used to things being a certain way, and now everything's kind of being upended. The first thing people do is panic. Well, I don't know what to do because everything's changing, everything's different. I'm being asked of different things in different ways that I'm not accustomed to, I'm not comfortable with. And so this is about laying out a compass. If you notice that this compass has both a clock dial on it as well as a compass dial, and that is purposeful. The reason for that is there are times when we will need to know what season we're in. How we are moving in a particular season is important as what direction we go in that season. And so timing is important, how we move, when we move, and the direction that we need to go. So the Compass series covers a lot of the kinds of things in life that we will encompass, we will encounter. So the three that are on the screen now are the ones that are done. Primarily, what I've done is from some of our conversations, my conversations with you, I have pulled together resources and created some of these Compass books around some of the growth and some of the need that I've seen in a lot of the clients. And so the first one was the Clarity Compass, getting clarity in both crisis and in urgent times, or just in smooth, even toned times when things are doing well. Sometimes there's just so much information in our heads that we can't sort it out and make sense of it. We can't figure it. It's like my emotions are all tied up in the thought, along with the facts and the things that I don't know. All of that's mixed up together. And so the Clarity Compass is a layout of how you can take all of that information and begin to separate it out and put it in categories and begin to use a compass mindset to move yourself forward. The grief compass, and Joyce, this might be for I'd be more than happy to share the grief compass with you. So you can share it with your daughter if you like. I just wrote that for my sisters, the passing of my sister-in-law. I have three sister-in-laws, and they've been like sisters to me, so I call them my sisters. But was sudden, and we didn't have a chance to really process a lot with her or around, like acceptance and things of that nature. And so after the funeral, after everything was done, they had been caregivers for her in the last month or so, couple months. And it was very difficult for them to make that transition. It was getting the news, jumping in, caregiving, all the things were happening so fast. And so once it was all over, it was crash time. And they started worrying about whether they were okay, whether they were safe, and all the things. And so the grief compass really lays out what is I want to say proper grieving because grieving is unique, but there also are signs and signs of where it goes into a different kind of concern. And so if you're not seeing those red flags of concern, give yourself grace. Step back into that. There's also an assessment link for anxiety and depression so that you can monitor yourself through the process and feel confident that, okay, I'm able to kind of monitor how I'm going, what my progress has been, in case you're worried that you might be going too deeply into complex. And so there's a lot in that book that came from the heart, and that helped them to process. And so I'm sharing that with everyone as well. And then the connection compass is for couples. And couples, particularly couples who find themselves late diagnosis of neurodivergence. Some of us have been living, our partners have been noticing, you're just different. Yeah, I respect that. I love you for it. You're quirky or whatever those words might be. And then not realizing that, we've been dealing with neurodivergence all our lives. And so bringing that into a marriage or a partnership, a relationship is important to understand so that you can have the kind of respect and the kind of new mindset that does not blame or lay any kind of heavy weight on each other unnecessarily. We work on learning how to communicate. And it's a really good book on just how good communication ought to sound like within a relationship. So those are the three that are done. There are four others that are in various stages of coming into reality, but that's what's coming. I'm really excited about that. So there'll be a store where all the others will be. There's a book on prayer already that's already done. I don't have that up here. So again, there's a lot that's coming out. But what I wanted to mention was that back to what kind of year this will be. 2026 is going to be a year where we'll be challenged both on a macro level and on a personal level. And sometimes one of them will be in one extreme and one will be in the other, where there might be stress on the macro level, maybe on the political scene or the national scene or the world stage, but your personal life is going in a wonderful bang up direction. And you're just kind of like, how do I hold these two extremes? I'm hoping that you will find the kind of resources that we're going to put out for you this year to be the kind of support to help you learn this is where your resilience in real time will serve you. You'll learn how to lean in when you need to be in survival mode and be able to do all the things and show up and answer questions and fact find and delineate what needs to be done. And then when you can lean out of that survival mode and into more of a reflective, protective mode. It is a flexibility, this flex that we haven't as collectively talked a lot about in therapy, in a therapeutic world, because our society has been pretty stable. And so as things begin a little bit difficult, maybe challenging, even on a personal level, it might be challenging. There might be situations where we have to show up for others or even show up for ourselves in ways that we didn't have to do in years past. And I want you to not be shocked by that. I want you to understand that seasons change, and with that comes the capacity to grow even in new ways that we never thought before. And so, what we thought we understood resilience to be, what we thought we understood capacity to be, will will grow exponentially this year. And I don't want anyone to be surprised with Mocha Cup. I want y'all to be like, we talked about this. I'm ready to go. And so that's kind of the gist of it. I have I think Shannon, you put the copy of the crisis compass in the chat. So each of you have a copy of that. So you have that for yourselves today. Is an excerpt from the book. So hold on for the book, but today you get the actual tool. So anybody have any questions, any thoughts?
On the grief, um, is it just, could it be used for any kind of loss, or is
Yes.
it specifically around a person? Okay.
It can be any kind of loss because there particularly this writing talks a lot about multiple grief, multiple levels of grief. So you might have lost a job, but you also may have lost a loved one. You may have lost, your community. You may have lost, a lot of different types of losses that happen simultaneously. Sometimes one loss will trigger the loss of other things. And so that really does help you to kind of see it in a global manner and have an approach that can handle that on a global way. So yes, it will help you. Anybody else? Any other questions?
No
Carol,
questions, but oh, sorry.
go ahead.
No,
No, go ahead, Joyce.
just a short comment. The grief one is a real good one because I'm going through a whole bunch of changes this year financially, with my daughter. I mean, it's just hitting me. I think when that clock struck 12, they just came out with all the confetti.
Yeah.
And I had to take a deep breath and I paused it so I could just work on me for that day going into this year. So this is right on time. So you're right, because we build up us for me, I built up all of this, got myself ready to a point that I'm ready to step out,
Mhm.
step in faith. And I was ready. The wheels were turning. My brain was excited. And at 12 o'clock came and it said, pow, 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 pow. So now I have to refocus, not refocus, but just slow down, take a deep
Mhm.
breath and
Mhm.
go through the motions and decide which ones I'm going to work on first.
Yep, that's
Because,
exactly
you
right.
know, we kind of try to do everything all at one time, and then we got more stuff that we add on, and then we got more
Right.
stuff we add on. And for me, I'm like, you know what, forget this, but not this
Mhm.
year. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go in and just deal with it. So I'm glad that you shared this with us. I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
I
I'm
really am.
good.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep, you're right. It's on the clock. It was interesting because it seemed like the end of the year brought a lot of things that would allow the beginning of the year to just kind of start off out of the box. Really just wow. I don't remember the day that when we left the US, we had our dream home. We had looked for this home forever. And I was like, and then, but I'm willing to save lives, right? So I'm like, we got to save lives. We got them people that have to do what they have to do. And I was okay with letting go of my dream house. Well, we found a dream house here, and it's like it's really wonderful. It's really all more than I could have ever imagined. And so that excitement and that high of like, oh, it's so wonderful. It's everything. In the midst of grieving a loss of someone. There were days when it was just hard to be in two extremes simultaneously, where people are calling and asking for information on both sides, and you're trying to find the strength to kind of like keep it together and say it and show up and do the things. It taps into something super deep in us that I don't think we've had to tap into before. Made me think a lot about how um, our grandmas and grandpas and great grandmas and stuff dealt with pressure and change too, because they didn't have therapy and community and I mean they had community, but they didn't have as much of that. Let's talk about how you feel and all of that kind of thing. And they got through it. There was a resilience in them that was just in real time, in real life. Like, I don't know that there was a conversation about how you got through it before and that's how you're going to get through it again. They would just show up for the day strong with here's what we're going to do. And so there's something about that that's kind of reminiscent of that is reminiscent in my mind of what we're about to enter into, this idea of just reaching deep down inside and pulling stuff up that you didn't know that was there, that kind of strength that shows up in times when you're like, whew, if I had to figure that out, that would have been like not going to happen. And yet something much deeper in you. So you will see yourself grow in ways that you never imagined. And it will be both reassuring and exciting and both also hard. There'll be things that you can't really say to everyone about anything, any one particular thing, and you'll have to kind of hold that information. Takes a lot to hold that. And so just the newness of what these new challenges will bring out of us. It's easy to talk about, it's easy to talk about on paper and all the things, but to live it in real time, that's where the growth happens. And so I want you all to feel supported in that. And when you feel that you're going through that, when you know that this community is here for you, that you don't have to bear it alone. You don't have to feel like you can't talk about it. I want you all to feel connected with each other in that way because it's a part of healing as well, to be able to know that I'm not, it's not just me, something's wrong with me or something's happening just for me, to me. It's happening in different ways in different people, but the season itself is changing. And so that part I want you to be aware of. When seasons change in the life of individuals, in the life of a area, in the life of a country, you can feel the shift. It's something hard to describe, but you'll know it and you'll recognize that the things that were permissible, the things that were easy to do, the things that were just not a big deal before become a big deal now. And so being mindful and being cautious about how as you make your choices, as you make your decisions, I want you to feel confident that you can make decisions that are intentional, that have been well thought out, that are, and that you are able. Here's where your strength is going to come in. You're able to disengage your emotion from it. So, and set it aside and say, there's a time and a place for me to feel what I feel, cry my tears or whatever I need to feel, and process. That time is not this right now. I'll do that later and postpone it, put it on pause, and be able to just show up in strength and know I can handle facts. I can handle decision making. I can even handle the unknown because a lot of times you'll have facts, but you only have some of the facts. And you'll have to kind of operate based on what you kind of know and hold space for what you don't know until you get that information. And so being able to do those two things is a skill that we are going to learn this year. It'll be a good